Conformément à l'article 100,
Pursuant to Standing Order 108.3, we're going to continue the study of access to early childhood services in the minority language. And I'm very pleased today to have Minister Jean-Yves Duclos with us. Welcome, Mr. Minister. Don Murphy, Special Advisor to the Minister. Welcome, Mr. Murphy. As usual, I'll remind you that we're televised today. Mr. Minister will do a presentation of about 10 minutes, and then we'll ask questions around the table. Mr. Minister, we're happy to have you here today, and the floor is yours. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. I'm very pleased today to be here today. I'm here with Doug Murphy, who is one of the top representatives at our department. And we're going to provide you with excellent answers to the wonderful questions that you would like to ask us in a few minutes. And most importantly, since it's the first time I've appeared before the Official Languages Committee, I've been waiting for an invitation for quite some time. I know that your standards for invitations are quite high. So I worked really hard over the past few months to meet these standards. So I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be here today on a topic that is very important, namely early learning and childcare in Canada. So as a Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, this cause is particularly close to my heart. And I'm happy to see that there's such a good synergy here with all the work, the important work you've been doing for several weeks. Early learning and childcare are at the heart of our commitment to guaranteeing a prosperous future and a fair one for all our country. And that is why in our last two budgets, in 2016 and 17, we proposed to invest $7.5 billion over 11 years, beginning this year, to help Canadian children get the best possible start in life. Because we think that by supporting and creating childcare services that are both affordable and top quality throughout the country, particularly for families that need it the most, this is how we'll be able to invest in our most precious resource, which is our children. Last June, for the first time in the history of Canada, federal, provincial, and territorial ministers responsible for early learning and childcare launched a historic agreement on the multilateral early learning and childcare framework. This framework sets the foundation for governments to work towards a shared long-term vision where all children across Canada can experience the enriching environment of quality early learning and childcare. And this framework also supports the development of early learning and childcare systems that respect different languages and cultures. And in particular, they recognize the unique needs of French and English linguistic minority communities in Canada. Childhood literacy and learning have a major effect on official language minority communities, notably those in minority settings. The importance of official languages is enshrined in the multilateral framework and bilateral agreements, and it gives us the necessary flexibility to take account of the special needs of each province and provinces with which we are on the verge of concluding bilateral agreements with. It is for early learning and childcare, we have to meet their needs and give funds to each of the provinces and territories. These bilateral agreements, which are being signed or which have already been signed, the Canadian government will allocate $1.2 billion over the next 3 years. Until now, bilateral agreements were signed with Ontario, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, and Nunavut. And we're in active negotiations with remaining provinces and territories. Moreover, An Indigenous early learning and childcare framework is being co-developed in collaboration and in respect with our Indigenous partners to address the needs and priorities of Inuit, Métis, and First Nations children and families. A number of key themes have emerged from engagement with Indigenous peoples, including the crucial importance of Indigenous cultures and languages in the design and content of early childhood programs. Strengthening early language and childcare opportunities can represent a significant step towards self-determination, reconciliation, and cultural revitalization. So therefore, I'm looking forward to finalizing the framework in partnership with Indigenous partners in the coming months.
With the overall vision of our government, it is unifying and engaging. Our government has promised to develop a brand new multi-year action plan on official languages spanning 5 years, starting from 2018 and lasting to 2023. That plan will be a renewed vision for official languages aimed at supporting official language minority communities across our vast country. To develop this plan in an informed and thoughtful way, we have held consultations across the country from June to December 2016. These consultations took place not only with numerous official language stakeholders and experts, but also with many Canadians, with the aim of launching the plan by the end of 2017-2018. We wanted to broaden our perspective to better establish our priorities and invest wisely in our new action plan. Dear colleagues, know that our government fully intends to propose this new action plan to Canadians by the end of 2017 and 2018. At
the same time, our government recognizes the importance of providing Canadians with employment training and support programs in both official languages. The labour market development agreements we signed with the provinces and territories will help unemployed Canadians access employment training and support in the official language of their choice. In closing, I'd like to remind you that by working hand in hand with all our partners, namely provinces, territories, municipalities, Indigenous representatives, and organizations, we'll be able to find and implement solutions to improve each of our communities and to extend our diversity and make it our source of pride and strength. So these are the end of my comments, Mr. Chair, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much, Mr. Duclos. We're going to start right away with comments and questions from Mr. Généreux. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Duclos, for being with us today, Mr. Murphy as well. I think, Mr. Duclos, around this table, you'll see there's a consensus. It's quite obvious on the relevance of looking at early childhood for learning official languages throughout the country, notably in minority language communities. Everyone clearly agrees that there should be investment in this area to make sure that, based on what we've heard from all the witnesses who came before our committee, we met several witnesses and community organizations. So I would like you to explain, the community associations told us many times that there's a crucial factor in learning a language in a minority setting. If we can learn really early a language, it's very important. But in the past, we've heard from witnesses, and they were clear about this, that there were agreements signed, bilateral and multilateral ones, with provinces and municipalities, where accountability was problematic. Namely, despite these agreements between the various levels of government, provinces received money, and they weren't necessarily invested in the places they should have been. these agreements that you've signed, or the ones that are in the process of being negotiated, will there be a mechanism or a reduced mechanism or with regard to accountability, regarding the mechanism of accountability? And most important, will you be able to make sure that the money, when it is earmarked to a certain province in the agreement, will you make sure that it really will go to the communities and the places that it's supposed to go to? Thank you, Bernard, for your excellent question. Yes, we can all agree, as you say very well, that for families and linguistic minority communities, that early learning is where things begin. There is an intellectual, social, and affective learning that happens with children, and their ability to participate in community development starts young as well, in early childhood. So it's important, as you've reminded everyone, this is true. So second, our relationship with the provinces and territories is our utmost importance. We have to provide these educational services in a transparent and accountable manner. This is very important. These bilateral agreements, and there's an action plan in place for them. You can see this with the provinces that have already signed such agreements. The manner in which this investment will be done is set out for the next 3 years. And there is an element of support for families and communities in minority settings, and it's clearly identified. So we know this up front. And we also know up front, and it's also developed upstream. We work with the various partners and agencies. They're very happy to do so. And they tell us how they think the investment should be done, and then we set this out for 3 years, during which there is accountability with specific and common denominators. Your answer doesn't satisfy me completely. Several witnesses, notably in my community, people who provide services to communities in minority settings, often they're community groups, and they're financed either by the department or the federal government directly. And so when the money goes to the provinces, on several occasions, as everyone here would agree, very often the money that is supposed to go to them to implement a particular program never gets to them, and it's redirected elsewhere. What guarantees in the agreements that you've signed are in place to make sure this money really gets to the provinces and the places that they're supposed to go to, notably at the community level? There are two things behind this guarantee. There are associations and stakeholders in each province, and they were part of the negotiations behind these action plans. So they helped us to facilitate this work between the provinces and the federal government, and they know how the investments will help families and minority linguistic communities. Secondly, our action plans are transparent and well known. They're published online, and provincial governments can't fudge the game plan, and the community groups, the ones on the ground, will be able to get the support that was promised by the action plan. So now we go to Nova Scotia with Daryl Sanson. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Duclos, you are gifted when it comes to congratulating people on the ground and acknowledging their work. We're happy to have you with us today. I'd just like to underscore the work that you're doing with regard to eliminating poverty, and the work that you've done is really amazing. And the national strategy for housing is also extremely important. And early childhood is very special. So allow me now to say that in Nova Scotia, roughly 12 years ago, we started offering a 4-year program for young people in French. It allows them to attend school in French, and it's been very successful. Over the past 10 years, we've seen a 25% increase in the number of students in this program. So it shows there's a clear need to have childcare and programs for children before 5 years old.
This agreement, if I may, will change the world because it's extraordinary. What I want to note for the committee, what's extremely important, is that within the multilateral framework, there's a crucial sentence that, given the specific needs of Francophone and Anglophone minorities, they must be addressed. So it's the first time in the history of Canada that we have a bilateral agreement with the provinces where we highlight the importance of ensuring that Francophone and Anglophone minorities are taken care of. It's incredible. I'd really like to thank you for your leadership because it will allow the provinces to move forward on this crucial issue. I'd like you to discuss that a bit and to not take all of the question. I have a second question. But how did you manage to do that? To have that approved at Cabinet and with the provinces? Because there are 4 provinces that have already signed it. Nova Scotia was supposed to on Monday, and we'll get to it. But listening was the first part of the answer. It was because of the vision and energy of people like you. You've complimented me, but I'd like to compliment you because I had the opportunity to spend time with you in Nova Scotia. And there's a lot of work that you did on the ground within the Acadian community in Nova Scotia. It's a relatively modest-sized community compared to that of New Brunswick, but it's very proud and very strong, and it wants to work hard. And I congratulate you for all of the work you've done. I went to your daughter's school, and we were really touched by the passion and the pride of all of the students in the classroom regarding the importance of living in French starting in childhood. So that's the answer to the question. Where does it come from? It comes from the energy of communities, of official language minority communities. And there are different results. The first is an action. It's the first time we have a multilateral and bilateral agreements with the provinces for childcare. And as you've said, it's explicitly stated that we want to support our French language and English language minority communities. It's a major victory, but it's not just action, it's about awareness as well. It's all of the work that's being done to listen to people and to journey with them. That has a lot of value too. It strengthens capacity on the ground, and then we can work with provinces and territories to obtain results. Thank you very much for your leadership. You've broken the ice, and other ministers can now take up the torch for this extraordinary work. Another question. There are some concerns on the ground. I heard this in PI and elsewhere, that there are bilateral agreements for this. For the provinces, the action plans for daycares in provinces, at this time, they don't necessarily have that clause. They've signed this. How do you see that integration to ensure the success of the goals that you've put in place? The first province to sign was Ontario. It has a solid plan, and other provinces can follow its lead. New Brunswick would also like to do the same. So now PEI and New Brunswick are setting the example, are leading by example. And we're working closely with Nova Scotia. It hasn't yet been signed, but we're hoping it will happen. And it's going very well with other provinces as well. Things are moving forward because one province compares itself to another and sees what they've done and they want to do as well. So there's that comparison effect. And it's very significant in the country. Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll go on to the next questioner, François Choquette. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister. Thank you for being here today. Early childhood is extremely important. It's essential for the survival of our communities, for their flourishing in minority contexts. If we don't focus deeply on this, we're headed towards certain assimilation. Commissioner Graham Fraser did a study in 2016 on early childhood and mentioned that a number of Francophone communities, particularly in New Brunswick and Ontario, have bilingual or immersion services to make up for a lack of access to French for early childhood. And there are significant consequences to this. Recently, Le Droit said an alliance to deal with the unprecedented lack of access to early childhood French language services. So what have you done, along with Minister Joly, for the action plan to address this issue? There's no mention of early childhood in the action plan. What work have you done with Minister Joly in this regard to deal with the problem in the action plan? There's something that may be misunderstood, but thank you, François. We're all focusing in this room on the importance of investing in early childhood for all of the important reasons for all families and all children, because it fosters gender equality, women especially are able to develop their full potential when there's high quality, affordable childcare. It's also important for the development of children, for the development of the most vulnerable children. I apologize, Mr. Duclos, I really don't have much time. Could you talk about the action plan? Because otherwise I have more questions and the chair will cut me off. So the action plan, please. What are you doing with the action plan with Mélanie Joly? For the action plan, which I mentioned earlier, I thought I had provided some answers, but we're working with the province. Not that one, Mr. Duclos. I'm talking about the action plan that Mélanie Joly is preparing. The action plan for official language minority communities, for official languages. That action plan. Okay, that action plan. It's directed and led by Minister Joly. It's her department that's responsible for it. But you must be working with her. Of course, of course. Early childhood, extremely important for our communities. So what have you done with her? Will it be in the new action plan? Will there be a section on early childhood? Yes. Minister Joly has the role for this. She's leading on this topic. But what we're discussing today will be at the heart of that action plan. We'll approach this challenge from a number of angles. I have many questions. The Network for Literacy and for Skills Development. I know there are 3 ministers who are responsible for your department, but you're one of the 3 ministers responsible for this RESDAC network. You talked about it at the end of your speech today. You talked about the importance of investing in employment and training for adults. But this network has no funds left. They had to lay off their employees and close their offices. They have no capacity to provide services in Canada. And they had let your department know long ago. This is an urgent situation. What will you do? Excellent question. As it has to do with a department that's not mine, but fortunately we have Mr. Murphy here, and he has experience and will be able to answer, so I'll give the floor to him.
The question, sir. So we did hear from the Official Languages Commissioner. We're actively reviewing that, and we will respond, or we're on track to respond early in the new year. But we are very aware of the situation with RESDAC.
Monsieur Murphy, comment ça se fait?
Mr. Murphy, you're aware of it, but why is it that we have to wait? You've seen the Commissioner's report, but at RESDAC, the people let you know. They said they were at the end of their rope. So why did you let the situation get to this point where they've had to cut a job, let their employee go, that person will find another job, so it's a loss of expertise for our communities, We can't afford to lose expertise in our official language minority communities.
The specifics of the program, other than the fact that this is something that the department is focused on now, and we're on track to respond within the prescribed timelines.
Est-ce que ça se terminait bientôt, le time?
And is that timeline concluding soon?
OK. En tout cas, ben, malheureusement, c'est une situation...
Fortunately, it's a deplorable situation, as you mentioned yourself. The FCFA has just published a press release stating that for a number of organizations and institutions in our communities, it's nearly the end of the line. You have 10 seconds left, Mr. Choquette. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll quote the FCFA later. Next, Paul Lefebvre. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister Duclos, thank you. Welcome to our committee. As is my colleague Daryl Sampson, I'm very proud of the work you and your department have accomplished. You've said that early childhood is part of the action plan. At this committee last year, in our report to Parliament, we stated that early childhood should be a priority for the government, and now you're confirming that it is. And based on my experience, when we moved to Sudbury, we had to put our daughter on a wait list to get a spot in a French childcare a year ahead of time. We had to do it a year before we moved to Sudbury because otherwise we wouldn't have that spot. And my sister-in-law and my nephew, unfortunately, he didn't get a spot in childcare, and they applied 6 months ahead of time, but my sister-in-law wasn't able to get a spot in her area of town. You don't want to have to drive 45 minutes out of your way before going to work. So in a place like Sudbury, which is very important for French language communities, you've talked about the agreements that you've concluded. My colleague is looking forward for Nova Scotia to sign and to follow in Ontario's footsteps because the Ontario leadership is doing well. So I'm just giving my colleague a hard time. In any case, for Ontario, for the French language organization, we want a percentage in the Ontario-Canada agreement, but there doesn't seem to be that number. Could we have a percentage of funding set out for the province of Ontario to ensure that it goes to French language communities? Paul. Congratulations on being part of this enthusiastic group. I'm glad to see that Nova Scotia wants to do as well as Ontario and vice versa. If we keep up this virtuous circle, it'll be great. It's great news. Second, in the agreement with Ontario, which was signed in June, if you look closely, we'll ensure everyone has a copy, everyone who wants one. You'll see in that agreement with Ontario that there's a recognition of the importance of investing in childcare spots, as you've described very well, Paul, in French language communities like Sudbury. It's difficult to have access to childcare with enough spots, high quality spots. Not just having access to childcare, but we also need to have high quality childcare. So in Ontario, you'll see there's an element that's linked to supporting early childhood workers so that those employees have everything they need to do their job well. They've been calling for it for a long time. It's going well with Ontario. We have good support from the province. So it's about quantity, affordability, and quality for childcare, and that's supported in the plan with Ontario. Excellent. Thank you very much. As I've mentioned, we want to ensure, because something else that was referred to in the report was accountability with the provinces, but it's public. The agreement is public. But in terms of the goals, do we have the metrics? can we measure these things? Because it's great to say we'll have an agreement. If it's not measured, we can say the agreement was respected, but that could be with 1% when the request was much higher. So how do we ensure accountability if the agreement has room for interpretation? Good question. This is very important. From the point of view of the provinces and territories, they'd like to have vaguer language to have more flexibility in the use of the resources from the Government of Canada. But in this case, we're working very hard to ensure we have specific percentages and numbers for the number of spots for educational childcare for official language minority communities. It's the best way to work together. So we're committing beforehand with action plans, with numbers, and afterward, we expect the results to also be numbered and quantifiable. Last question. Something else we heard from a number of witnesses over the past 2 years since I've been on the committee is that which parent is in favor? We're asking the province to play a role, but maybe the community can play a role too. It's about by and for this official language community. What role can the community play to ensure the by and for? Great question. The associations and the communities are consulted before action plans are signed. So there's a lot of consultation done with each province and territory to ensure that associations that represent official language minority communities are part of the drafting of these action plans. And two, in all the cases that I can remember, when the work is done, it's through these organizations, these community organizations, sometimes national organizations. It's very big for Ontario. It's more concentrated in Nova Scotia. So we work with the organization that represents French language childcare in Ontario, for example. And then the work is done at French language school boards. So there's a lot of integration between early childhood services and the education services that come after that. It depends on the circumstances, and often that's where the best work is done. There's an integration of educational services for children, early childhood and what comes after. And it goes through existing structures. So we don't send official language minority community children to immersion or bilingual services. That's not the quality we're looking for. So it should work differently. Thank you very much. After Ontario, Manitoba, Dan Vandal. Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you once again for having come to Saint Boniface Saint Vital last summer when you were there for Habitat for Humanity. It was great to see you on the ground. The issue of daycare is extremely important for Manitoba. I know we have long wait times for French and English language services. It's 13,000. There's not a week that goes by in my office that we don't have a community group call or visit my office. There are people looking for French language spots. We know that in Manitoba, only 17% of people who have access, who have a right to French language services, but the national average is 33%. All too often in Saint Boniface, Saint Vital, parents have to register their kids in English language daycares. In agreements that with provinces that have already signed bilateral agreements, there are guaranteed spots. But our province is in no rush to sign. Maybe for environment or health or cannabis, they're in no rush to sign agreements. And it's the same for this file as well.
When these agreements are negotiated, how can we make sure that there are daycare spots created. What should we do? What should I tell parents that I represent? What can we do to make sure that they will have these spots? Very good. Thank you, Dan. Yes, with Manitoba, the process is somewhat longer, but we want to do things properly. Quickly and well is good too, but for Manitoba, it's a longer process than elsewhere. But I think it still will be good in the end. And since everything's not wrapped up yet entirely, the question you ask is relevant. The Franco-Manitoban community, how can it be supported with what's happening between the federal government and the provincial government? I know the circumstances very well, and there are already people on the ground to make sure to give the Manitoban government a positive impression so that these two can work together as much as possible in favor of the community. In Manitoba, obviously, there is a historical wealth and cultural wealth that's amazing in the Francophone community. This is a very precious resource, and we have to support it, as you know so well. Yes, absolutely. Since our educators for early childhood in Manitoba are often bilingual, French daycares have to compete with English daycares that are often bigger and have more money, and it's harder to keep employees in French daycares. In these agreements, has the human resource aspect been brought up? How can we make sure that the personnel, that there is qualified personnel in place when these daycare spots are created? In terms of transparency, there's one thing that we have to say. Working conditions for educators is provincial jurisdiction. All the management aspects and the working conditions for these services are part of provincial jurisdiction. But there is something we can do with bilateral agreements, and that is to make sure we provide support that is significant to educators to help them provide even better quality daycare services. Educators are also aware and they're sensitive to the support they receive if they have the right people around them, if they have access to help, and if they have skills development. They'll be more apt and available to work longer and to stay in place in French daycares. So it's the whole working environment that's important as well. For most provinces, things are going well. We're being able to provide different types of support to make sure that they can continue working and also help develop their skills, which is greatly needed. Thank you. Now we go to Saskatchewan with Kathy, who's going to share his time with Bernard. Thank you very much.
Here today as probably the one and only around the table possibly that is English speaking only. French was taught in my school as a junior high student. However, there was nowhere to practice the language. I'm from Saskatchewan, and at the time, I can tell you, I can still say, je suis dans la salle de classe and fermez la bouche. But I'm hoping to learn. However, the thought of learning when you're very young is very important. And I appreciate that this is protection of official language minority communities, not necessarily in thinking to broaden those who can speak both languages. But believe me, being on the Hill now, I appreciate this as something that's very, very important. And I would like to say at least that in Saskatchewan we have a very strong immersion program, as well as for my daughter who teaches at home, her 4 children, they are learning Latin, Hebrew, and French. And again, it's that young age that makes such a difference. So I have 2 questions very briefly. The first is around the $1.2 billion over 3 years to the provinces, around $400 million per year. Is that right? Anyways, I just wonder how this is determined when you see that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 who are already in bilateral agreements, so are they already receiving this funding? Or is this new funding that's going to be sent out? And then when you look at 1.2 billion and the number of provinces, of course Saskatchewan and Quebec are not part of this either, how are you determining how much money is going to be protected to go where? Do you understand my question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, good question. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be very good in Hebrew or Latin or any of the languages that your family is learning. However, I'm better at numbers. So, and when it comes to numbers, it's 1.2 over 3 years, as you correctly stated. That starts in 2017, 2018, and that's why we are working so hard with all the remaining provinces and territories to make sure that these agreements are signed. Now, there are carryover provisions, which mean that not all the dollars need to be spent 100% over each of the 3 years. So the first year can be below 100%. That's why we have a little flexibility. But no, it means that for Saskatchewan, for Quebec, for Manitoba, and all the other provinces and territories, we need to proceed at a quick pace. And in addition to the 1.2, there are $300 million for Indigenous early learning and childcare funding and framework, because we are also working with the Métis, the First Nations, and the Inuit to have Indigenous early learning and childcare arrangements with them, so that they can use these resources to develop those services for their families and communities.
Okay. Just one more?
One
more question?
Okay.
Okay. Just wondering with Quebec, I know they have a very strong Quebec program for childcare. At the same time, very, very expensive and long wait lists. So I'm just wondering, with the English official language minority communities, what portion of the province would that be? And if they're struggling with that side of things, how realistic is it that we would see this kind of program be implemented there? Because it requires the work of the province as well, right? The funding as well.
Very good. Now, there's something that you said which is not exactly right. No, the waiting list in Quebec used to be quite long a few years ago, but with the maturation, the development of their system, the waiting lists are now considerably shorter, and in some cases there are no more waiting lists. So it's accessible. It is still affordable, although the rates have changed slightly, and there is a lot of considerable investment in quality early learning and childcare. Now, and because of this considerable asymmetry between Quebec and the other provinces and territories when it comes to early learning and childcare services, Quebec will have, as with all other provinces and territories, will have its own bilateral agreement, but a bilateral agreement which gives Quebec more flexibility. It will have to be resources targeted for services, direct services to children and families, but not necessarily to early learning and childcare, not at least in the way in which it's understood with other provinces and territories.
Ce que je comprends à ce moment-là, Monsieur le ministre, que
based on what I understand, there will be full compensation for Quebec, like for other provinces and territories. We just can't send a check without an agreement. It will also have a bilateral agreement with Quebec as well, but it will be a bit different because the child care system there in Quebec is very different than elsewhere in the country. It's already set up, yes. So that's it. We're going to go to New Brunswick with Mr. Arsenault. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask a quick question, and then I'll leave part of my time to our expert in early childhood learning, Mr. Sanson. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Murphy and Mr. Duclos. And thank you for your initiatives. A very practical question. When you negotiate these bilateral agreements, I don't want to hear any secrets of state, but we've heard from many witnesses there are organizations that represent minority communities, we often hear them talk about for and by these communities. They really have to focus on where the real needs are. These programs have to be managed by people who are the main ones involved, and the ones who really need it. I know it's an FPT issue. It involves the Department of Education, Early Childhood and Family. But in your negotiations with your provinces, are there organizations that represent minority communities? Did they give the provinces, did they put them on the right track in these recommendations? It is a joint responsibility, and we want to make sure on our side, in the federal government, that we're listening to these organizations on the ground. Bearing in mind that these education services can support these minority communities. So we take it very seriously, and the negotiations will continue in coming years because the agreement lasts for 3 years, and we know after that we'll be back at the negotiating table and we'll see how things went. And if things could be better, we'll correct them. So it's an ongoing commitment because we all know that's how we improve things with time. Now, there are provinces and territories where, in good faith, we have to make sure that there's a symmetrical agreement exercise, that the provinces are also listening to their minority language communities. Most of the time this is already done. Sometimes they could do it a little bit better than in the past, given there are 3 levels of government that are involved. So things have gone well, but we're just getting started. This is the first time in the history of Canada that we've got a commitment from the federal government to support this work with the provinces and territories. And we're going to continue to improve, I think, in coming years. Thank you very much. Now we give the floor to Mr. Sanson. Thank you once again, Mr. Duclos. How much do I have, Mr. Chair? How much time? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Just to sum up, early childhood learning is crucial. The earlier children learn, the better. The better. So it is crucial. Sometimes we face the situations of assimilation. In the beginning, people don't feel comfortable going to French school when they're 5 because it feels very formal and they haven't yet learned the language and they're going to learn time learning a second language. So this 4-year program allowed children to enter the school system better. So the earlier we can do this, the better. I'd like to ask Mr. Duclos. In 2004, they promised $5 billion over 5 years for early childhood learning. But we have to look at where we are today, and I think we have to slow down this assimilation and improve the success of French schools. So in terms of these 4 provinces and territories who have signed agreements, without revealing any secret information, do the provinces seem really interested in reaching these agreements as soon as possible? Thank you, Daryl. There's something you said that I think is really good. The earlier we start things, the better. And the more chances there is of success. That's so true, as you said, in communities. Second, provinces and territories are happy. I don't want to be partisan, but for the sake of transparency, I'd like to say that during our first meeting, FPT, on social services, that for daycare, took place in January of 2016. When I entered the room, I didn't say anything, but all the provinces and territories stood up and applauded for me. I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. But for 10 years, we haven't seen anyone, so we're really happy to see you back. We haven't seen you. So they consider these things to be important. And for the provinces and territories, they also need political support. That's not partisan. I'm not here to be partisan. But they need this political support. It shows how important it is to invest in early childhood. And we have to help provinces and territories to do so. So they really are very positive and very happy about this. They want this type of support, and they want to be able to work together. Public servants have work to do. They have to make sure things are done right, but I was surprised in January 2016 by this. They were happy to see that the Canadian government was back, and yes, we were warmly welcomed. So we're back to Quebec with Mr. Généreux. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Duclos, over the past 10 years, there's something that has changed a lot. It's the whole question of immersion. And between 2003 and 2013, there was a 40% increase in the number of people going to immersion programs. And we know that the parents, for example, I have my parents and my sister taught immersion programs in Vancouver, and they saw how people waited for almost 48 hours in front of the schools to be able to get a spot. So for me, this is really good news. So all these 400,000 students that will be affected in English-speaking provinces in Canada, there's also great interest in learning French, and it shows how relevant bilingualism is in Canada today. I have colleagues who are taking English and French classes to improve their linguistic skills. In the 2018-2028 roadmap, I can't remember the exact years, 2080, 20, and then 2023, for the money that is set aside for immersion schools, what is this? I will answer your question directly in a minute, but first, as you said, Bernard, learning a second language is always a good thing for a child. It stimulates their intellectual development, it opens up their minds, and what's important is for them also to learn their mother tongue and to develop it. The child has to be able to feel comfortable in working in their mother tongue as well. With regard to immersion schools, that's not the objective. The federal program is not intended to support immersion schools. They want to support families and linguistic minority language settings. So I was asked whether we could support English students in majority settings. No. Do I have any time left? 1 minute, roughly. One of the important things, once again, I'm going back to this because we talked about it regularly, is accountability. Several organizations there's an organization that helps Francophones in minority settings throughout Canada. And this organization is in a difficult situation, financial situation. And these type of organizations are essential in order to develop and maintaining community organizations. In your plan for youth in general, is there money set aside, and perhaps Mr. Murphy could answer this question, is there money set aside specifically for these organizations?
The answer is yes. In the plans that are already available and that we're developing, the provinces specifically identify organizations on the ground that they'll be working with. Thank you. We'll conclude with Francois, 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. 3 minutes isn't much, but I'd like to mention what the FCFA said. I had began earlier. For many organizations and institutions in our communities, the deadline is looming. It's the 11th hour. If we want to stop demographic decline and slow assimilation down, we need $575 million to be invested in our communities for the next action plan for official languages. That's the FCFA that says that. And they've said as well, Francophone organizations and institutions have only received 25 cents from every dollar invested in the roadmap and 7 cents in transfer payments. We were talking about the transfer payments for the agreement on early child care. So that's severe. What will you do? Colleagues have mentioned that there's no percentage set aside in your agreements. That's of a concern to us. People mentioned by and for. It's so important that it be organizations that they have the money to invest in communities rather than in administration. 25 cents on the dollar, 7 cents on the dollar, it makes no sense. What are you going to do to ensure that the money gets into the hands of the institutions and the communities that provide services directly for official languages for early childhood learning? Thank you. The first answer is that I've already answered those types of questions when we were talking about the action plan and the reports that will have to be prepared for the common and specific indicators for the provinces and territories. The second answer is that 7 cents can't apply for previous investments by the Canadian government for early childhood learning and daycare because the government hadn't done that, hadn't invested in that, and certainly not to support official language minority communities. Third, the needs are great, so it's important to have this type of action plan for early childhood learning and childcare. And as was said earlier, it's important that Ms. Joly come here to talk about her plan and to hear from you. Thank you very much. This concludes our interview. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Doug. It was a real pleasure to have you here this afternoon. Once again, thank you on behalf of everyone. We will now suspend for a few minutes so we can go into committee business in camera. Thank you.
Thank you.